Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's explainer, where we're basically setting the stage for an epic head-to-head battle between two foundational computer science heavyweights. On one side, we've got the relentless, hard-working linear search, and on the other, the lightning-fast, highly strategic binary search. If you've ever stopped to wonder exactly how a computer pulls up the exact piece of data you're looking for out of literally millions of records and does it in the blink of an eye, well, you are absolutely in the right place.
Here's the tale of the tape for our 5-round matchup today. First, an intro to search algorithms. Then, unpacking linear search. Third, mastering binary search. Round 4 is comparing algorithm efficiency. And finally, choosing the right method. Let's get right into it. So let's just think about this question for a second. We completely take it for granted every time we use a search bar, right? But how does a computer actually find a single needle in a massive digital haystack? Whether it's pinpointing a specific number in a database, a name in a directory, or a record on a massive server, the computer needs a highly specific set of instructions to find that exact data. It doesn't just guess, it follows a plan. And that exact plan is what we formally call a search algorithm. Simply put, it's a step-by-step method used to find a required item in a collection of data. Now, this data could be living in a list, an array, a table, you name it. Depending on how it's programmed, a successful search might return the actual item itself, or maybe it returns the position, the index of where that item lives. Or sometimes it simply returns a true or false, just confirming, yeah, the item actually exists. And as the amount of data we're dealing with grows, the efficiency of this step-by-step method becomes absolutely critical.
All right, Section 1, Intro to Search Algorithms. Let's cover the basics.
Now, what's really interesting here is looking at the sheer visual contrast between these two. Notice how the green arrow on the left represents linear search. It's checking items sequentially, one at a time, moving step by step by step. It's kind of like a slow crawl. But then look at the gold arrow on the right, representing binary search. It completely bypasses the beginning and takes this massive, calculated jump right to the middle of the data set. It's just an entirely different philosophy of data retrieval.
Moving on to Section 2, Unpacking Linear Search. Checking one by one. You know, linear search is honestly brilliant in its pure simplicity. Here's the step-by-step logic, which, by the way, closely mirrors how you'd write this out in Python. Step 1, you just start at the very first element in the list. Step 2, you compare that item with your target value. Step 3, if it's a match, great. You return its position and you're done. But if it's not a match, you just move on to the next item and repeat the whole thing. Finally, step 4, if you reach the very end of the list and there's still no match, you can confidently declare the item is not present, usually by returning a -1. Let's actually look at a trace table to see this in action. It's kind of like a play-by-play commentary. Our data list is 14, 22, 9, 31, 18. And our target? We're looking for 18. Okay, step 1, we check index 0. The value is 14. Is it a match? No. Step 2, we move to index 1. Value is 22. Match? No. Step 3, index 2, value is 9. Still no. Step 4, index 3, value is 31. Still no. I mean, it's an absolutely grueling process. But finally, step 5, we check index 4. The value is 18. Match? Yes, we finally found it. It took us 5 separate exhausting comparisons just to hit our target. If the target wasn't in this list at all, the algorithm would have tirelessly checked every single box until the bitter end.
So here's the absolutely crucial takeaway. The biggest advantage of linear search is its flexibility. It works perfectly fine on entirely unsorted data, just like those jumbled numbers we just looked at. You don't have to prep the data at all. But its biggest disadvantage is the speed cost. Because it might literally need to examine every single item, it becomes incredibly slow as your list grows large. Searching 10 items? Totally fine. Searching 10 billion? Yeah, you're going to be waiting a while.
All right, round 3, Section 3, Mastering Binary Search, having the list. Okay, before we even peek at the logic, you absolutely have to memorize this golden rule. Binary search requires the data to be sorted first. Seriously, I cannot emphasize this enough. If you try to run a binary search on unsorted random data, the algorithm is going to completely break down and give you the wrong result. Yes, it's highly efficient, but it's kind of like a diva. The data structure must be in perfect numerical or alphabetical order before it will even step onto the stage. So, assuming your data is beautifully sorted, here is the halving logic that makes binary search so unbelievably powerful. Step 1, instead of starting at the beginning, it calculates and looks straight at the middle element of the data. Step 2,
If your target is smaller than that middle element, well, it knows the target cannot possibly be in the second half of the list, right? So it completely ignores the right side and only searches the left half. Step 3, if the target is larger, it does the exact opposite and only searches the right half. And step 4, it just repeats this halving process, calculating a new middle every single time until the target is found. With each single step, it beautifully destroys half of the remaining data possibilities. Let's run our rapid-fire trace on this one. We have a sorted 9-item list, indices 0 through 8, and we are hunting for the number 42. Step 1. The middle index between 0 and 8 is 4. The value there is 31. Well, 42 is larger than 31, so boom, the entire left half is ignored. Our new low becomes indexed 5. Step 2. The middle between 5 and 8 is index 6. The value there is 56. 42 is smaller than 56, so boom, the right half is ignored. Our new high becomes index 5. Step 3. Our low and high are both 5, so the middle is index 5. The value there is exactly 42. We found it. In just 3 incredibly efficient checks, we pinpointed our target, completely avoiding the need to scan the whole list. Now, a quick exam tip for you. When you're looking at the code, here are the absolute most common pitfalls to avoid with binary search. First, as we yelled about earlier, using it on unsorted data. Don't do it. Second, updating the low or high variables incorrectly in your code, which basically causes the loop to skip over the exact values you actually want. And third, simply calculating the middle position wrong. Keep your variables tight, and this algorithm works absolute wonders.
Section 4. Comparing algorithm efficiency. Linear versus binary speed.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real-world difference between them using big O notation, which, if you recall, is how we measure an algorithm's worst-case time complexity. Look at the dark blue line, O of n, representing linear search. It shoots straight up diagonally. As the number of items grows, the time it takes grows at the exact same direct rate. Now look at the gold line, O of log n, representing binary search. It starts off somewhat similarly, but then it just flattens out, growing much, much more slowly. Because it halves the search space every single time, even as your dataset gets massively huge, the time it takes to search barely increases at all. It's a real game changer. So here is our final side-by-side scorecard. Linear search has a worst-case time complexity of O(n). It can handle unsorted data perfectly fine, and its method is simply to check items one by one. It's really best used for small or completely unsorted lists. Binary search, on the other hand, has a worst-case time complexity of O log n. It absolutely must have sorted data, and its method is to continuously halve the search space. It is without a doubt the reigning champion for large sorted or indexed lists.
Finally, Section 5. Choosing the right method. Real-world applications. Let's think about a classic, everyday example, a phone directory. If you're searching for a phone number by looking up a person's name, that list is already sorted alphabetically, right? This is perfect for binary search. You can just jump straight to the middle of the alphabet and zero in on the exact name with lightning speed. But what if you have a random phone number on your caller ID and you want to search the directory backwards to find out who it belongs to? The directory is organized by name, not by phone number, so the numbers are completely unsorted. In this case, binary search is totally useless. You are forced to use a slow, linear search, crawling through every single entry one by one until you finally match the number. And honestly, that leads us to this fantastic direct quote from the source material, which really serves as a golden rule for all programmers. Choose the method by looking at both efficiency and whether the data is sorted for the search key. It's so true. Don't just blindly pick the algorithm with a faster big O notation. A faster mathematical speed literally doesn't help you at all if your actual data structure doesn't support it. So I want to leave you with a final provocative question to really test your strategic thinking here. We know binary is faster, for sure. But in what kind of real-world scenario would a slow linear search actually be the better choice? Think about how data is constantly moving, updating, and shifting in the real world. Give it some thought. It's all about picking the absolute right tool for the job. Thanks for joining me on this explainer today, and keep exploring the fascinating architecture of code.